I spent 18 months developing a groundbreaking cybersecurity system capable of predicting and neutralizing attacks before they even began. Titan Tech seemed like the perfect place to bring it to life, well-funded, innovative, and equipped with all the resources I needed. But what I didn't realize was that CEO Brandon Holt had a very different plan: wait until my project was nearly complete, then steal it. My name is Maya Lin, and until yesterday, I was the lead AI architect at Titan Tech. I had left a stable, high-paying job at Microsoft to join this promising startup, bringing with me years of expertise and an idea I believed could revolutionize the cybersecurity industry. My creation, Sentinel Shield, named after the ever-vigilant guardians of mythology, was designed to identify attack patterns before they fully materialized, generating adaptive defenses in real time. For a year and a half, I poured everything into this project, working 80-hour weeks to build Sentinel Shield from the ground up. Brandon would occasionally stop by my lab, making small talk, reviewing progress reports, and flashing that signature corporate smile, the kind that never quite reached his eyes. "Brilliant work, Maya," he'd say. "The board is ecstatic about your progress." 3 days ago, I reached a critical milestone. Sentinel Shield successfully intercepted and neutralized a highly sophisticated cyber attack simulation, all without human intervention. Not only did it work, it exceeded expectations, identifying vulnerabilities I hadn't even programmed it to detect. The AI was learning, evolving, excited by the breakthrough. I immediately scheduled a meeting with Brandon to present the results. His assistant, Rachel, squeezed me in for a brief 15-minute slot the next afternoon. When I arrived at his office, I wasn't just greeted by Brandon, but also by the company's legal counsel, Andrea Fields. That was my first red flag. "Have a seat, Maya," Brandon said, his expression unreadable. "Andrea is just here as a formality." Then he slid a document across the table. "Before we discuss Sentinel Shield, we need to revisit your employment agreement." Andrea spoke in a flat tone. "Section 14.3 of your contract states that any intellectual property developed using company resources belongs to Titan Tech." I explained that Sentinel Shield was conceptualized long before I joined the company. I had documentation to prove it. Brandon leaned forward, dropping all pretense of courtesy. "Let's be honest, Sentinel Shield belongs to Titan Tech. You'll receive a success bonus of $300,000. That's more than fair." I sat there stunned. 18 months of relentless work, sleepless nights, and they were offering to buy me out, cheaply. What Brandon didn't know was that I had anticipated this betrayal. I had already taken steps to protect my system and myself. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. Instead, I nodded, handed over my company laptop, and let security escort me out like any other dismissed employee. But unlike most, I wasn't walking away empty-handed. 6 months earlier, I had discovered that Brandon had accessed my development server after hours, while nothing was taken. That unauthorized login triggered an alert, one I had embedded as a precaution. From that moment on, I began building silent safeguards into Sentinel Shield. Not just to defend against external threats, but from internal ones, especially the corporate kind. That included one final line of defense: a concealed algorithm embedded in the investor demo. That night, while Titan Tech slept, I didn't panic. I didn't spiral. I ordered takeout, watched a few episodes of an old sitcom, and waited. At exactly 9:30 p.m., my phone rang. It was Rachel. "He wants to see you," she said without preamble. "It's urgent. A car is on the way." By 10:15, I was back at Titan Tech. Brandon was alone in the conference room, his shirt wrinkled, tie undone, face pale with stress. "Fix it," he snapped. I smiled faintly. "Fix what exactly?" He didn't know it yet, but Sentinel Shield had already begun defending itself. Brandon's face was flushed. his voice cracking with panic. The system flagged our own servers as hostile. It started generating thousands of threat alerts, internal reports, breach logs, even employee access violations. It crashed halfway through the test run. We have 12 investors arriving tomorrow. $75 million on the line. I leaned back in my chair, expression calm. Sounds like Sentinel Shield is working perfectly. It's identifying threats, just like it was designed to do. His eyes narrowed. You sabotaged it. I shook my head. No. Sentinel Shield is functioning as intended. It was built to adapt, evolve, and neutralize risks, internal or external. You wanted an intelligent system. Well, now it sees you as the threat. He fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. This isn't salvageable unless you help, he finally muttered. What do you want? I looked him in the eye, unwavering. Full recognition as the system's creator. 50% patent ownership. A board seat. $10 million in damages. Brandon scoffed, but I could see it, he was cornered. If you refuse, I added. The system stays broken. And those reports? Let's just say they'll find very interested readers. He stared at me in stunned silence. Sentinel Shield had done its job. So had I. Brandon's jaw clenched. He glanced at the flash drive I slid across the table, my key to restoring Sentinel Shield's core functionality. This updates the system's authentication, I explained. It will resolve the false positives by recognizing legitimate internal protocols, so long as its creator is back in the loop. He hesitated, then reached for it. You planned this. I planned for this, I corrected. You breached my development server 6 months ago. That's when I started building failsafes, because I knew someone inside could be the biggest threat. The silence that followed was thick with realization. Brandon knew he'd lost control. If I sign your terms, he asked, can you stabilize it in time for the demo? Easily, I said. But only under the new partnership agreement, co-founder, CTO, patent co-owner. Non-negotiable. He exhaled, nodded stiffly, and reached for his phone to summon legal. The deal was made. The next morning, I stood beside Brandon as he introduced me to the investors with forced enthusiasm. Sentinel Shield performed flawlessly, blocking simulated cyberattacks with grace and precision. But the real victory? As I answered technical questions, a system notification buzzed on my phone. Threat neutralized. Creator authorization active. Sentinel Shield was secure. And so was I. 3 months after the investor demo, Sentinel Shield was deployed in its first live environment, a major U.S. banking network facing relentless cyber attacks. The AI intercepted a sophisticated intrusion within seconds, adapting defenses in real time and preventing what experts later said could have resulted in $340 million in damages. The press called it a revolution in cybersecurity. Titan Tech stock soared. Brandon focused on business development, where his charisma finally served a genuine purpose. I, as CTO and co-founder, led product evolution and ethical oversight. We were far from friends, but we had found an uneasy balance. Behind the scenes, I refined Sentinel Shield's ethical framework. Inspired by how close Brandon had come to exploiting my creation, I embedded stronger transparency protocols, oversight logs, and immutable audit trails. Every deployment would now include built-in protections, not just against hackers, but against internal misuse. Kevin, a young analyst, once asked me, what's the biggest threat in cybersecurity? People, I told him. The most dangerous threats don't always come from the outside. Sentinel Shield wasn't just an AI, it was a warning, a watchdog, and a legacy. And for the first time in my career, I felt like I had built something that could truly outlast Betrayal. As Sentinel Shield gained recognition, invitations poured in, tech summits, university panels. and even a cybersecurity advisory role with a federal agency. Yet, I remained selective. My focus was clear: ensure that Sentinel Shield's core mission remained intact, protection through foresight, without compromising ethics. Then came the IPO. Titan Tech went public, and with it came validation. The company was valued at $4.2 billion. Reporters asked about the secret behind our success. And I was finally credited, publicly and unequivocally, as the creator of Sentinel Shield. Brandon gave interviews beside me, reciting polished sound bites, but the narrative had changed. This was no longer his story, it was mine. But I hadn't forgotten what brought me here. I launched a foundation under Sentinel Shield's name, offering grants to women and underrepresented innovators in tech. I knew what it felt like to have your voice stolen, your ideas buried under someone else's ambition. Kevin, the analyst, stopped by my office one afternoon. "Sentinel Shield's not just tech," he said. "It's a message." He was right. It was a message that no matter how small your voice feels, truth and perseverance can rewrite the narrative. I looked out at the skyline and smiled. The system wasn't the only thing that had learned to defend itself months after Sentinel Shield went live. I stood alone in the very lab where it had all started, just me and the soft hum of servers echoing the quiet strength it took to get here. I remembered the long nights, the betrayal. The moment Brandon tried to erase my name from my own creation. But more than that, I remembered the decision that changed everything: not to fight with anger, but to win with preparation, dignity, and truth. Sentinel Shield wasn't just an AI program. It was a shield I had built, not only for digital systems, but for myself, and for every person who's ever been underestimated, dismissed, or pushed aside. And now, it stands as a gold standard in cybersecurity and ethical tech. Investors took notice. So did developers. But more importantly, so did people, everyday people who saw in my story a reflection of their own quiet struggles. If you're watching this and you've ever had to defend your worth, your work, your ideas, your place in the world, know this: you're not alone. Whether you're 25 or 75, it's never too late to stand up for what's yours, or to protect what you've built with love, effort, and vision. Technology evolves, but values like integrity, perseverance, and self-respect never go out of date. So protect your name. Protect your story. Because when you do, you don't just change your outcome, you inspire others to do the same. Thank you for being part of mine. Your story matters too.